Welcome to Paint a Beautiful Picture. My name is Violet Newby. If you haven't been with me before, wow, did you sign up for a fun week? Because this week we're talking about the crazies. Lately, I hear this so often. People say, life is crazy. Well, that's a fact. Or certainly things have gone a little crazy. I just cannot believe some of the things that are going on. I was talking with someone about something as simple as the weather. When I was a kid, in the winter it snowed. In the summer it wasn't scorching hot, but it was hot enough. I grew up in Michigan. In the spring and the fall, it rained. It really, really rained in the spring, which I love spring. I guess I learned to like rain. Never bothered me. Last night here in the hills of North Carolina, we had a thunderstorm, and the person that I was with said, "Oh, I hate thunderstorms. They make me so scared." I mean, it was a mild thunderstorm, maybe three good thunders and some lightning. Uh, Whoa. I was really shocked by that people are so worried about thunderstorms and scared of thunderstorms. I love thunderstorms. That's kind of hard for me to relate to. But honestly, you could kind of tell what was going to go on. It wasn't that we never had Indian summer in the fall, so we'd have a week or two of really beautiful weather after it had already gotten cold and maybe even heavy frosted and whatever. It would go back and forth. And certainly spring could be moody. You could have a late snow. I remember once in the early 80s in Wisconsin, we had a snow all the way on Mother's Day, which I think that year was around May 10th or 11th. So certainly there have been strange events, but seems like all the time lately the weather has gone crazy. And certainly since COVID, life is pretty crazy. In certain countries in the world, in addition to all of those whom have died of COVID itself and further complications, there are people who have killed themselves because they've lost their business or their financial picture has changed so drastically and they're so discouraged and they're socially isolated. Certainly, even within the United States of America, there's been quite a rash of what I'll call COVID deaths, not because of COVID itself, but because all of the social ramifications and young people committing suicide, even up into their 20s and 30s, people who are really discouraged and feeling so alone. And so there have really been crazy things going on. Life is crazy. But let's be real, just in general, life is crazy. Honestly, though, I think it always has been. I'm not saying that we're not feeling it or we are not more aware of it because of social media and everybody in the world can talk about how they're doing and what they're experiencing, how they're feeling, what's going on with them, what's going on with their work and their family. And yeah, we just are bombarded with the fact that people are experiencing that craziness. And we definitely hear it on the news. I can't even begin. And I barely see a few seconds of the news, and I can't hardly stand it because I don't ever hear anything good or anything admirable, anything wonderful, anything that I want to put into my head and think about on a regular basis. Whew, sorry, Alyssa, you're going to have to get rid of that burp. Pardon me. And I haven't even eaten anything. Okay. Whew. Uh, yeah, we don't hear much good news, and so I think that can make us even crazier. As if life isn't crazy enough. But let's get down to being a parent. Inside of a home that has two kids or more, no joke. Sometimes even one challenging child, but certainly two. Life is crazy. It just is. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of disorder, there's a lot of chaos, there are a lot of unexpected things that come up. There just is a lot of crazy. Life is crazy. That's reality, okay? The part that we have a semblance of control over, a schedule, organization within the home, good meal planning, good economic planning, the way that people interact with each other in any way, shape, or form that has something to do with us, that we can have a certain amount of control over. And we need to take it, we need to use that control wisely. I was recently speaking to someone in their 70s, and they said to me, uh, "You're pretty orderly." And actually, I don't feel that I am because I'm sort of a messy, that's just who I am in my natural state. You know, I'm kind of a messy person. There are things here and things here and things there. I don't take every single thing the second I use it and put it back. And yeah, you know, I don't necessarily always perceive of myself in that way. But in my thoughts and in my day and in the processing of what I need to do and take care of and the things for which I'm responsible, yes, I think I'm pretty orderly. I'm going to go back to where that happened and maybe it'll help you catch a glimpse. These are formative things that happened to me, and you can thank God they didn't happen to you. I'm just telling you, they kind of drove how this happened. When I was 12, my mom took off. So my brother was 14, I was 12, my sister was 10, my brother was 8. And bang, I became the woman of the house. That's hilarious because I certainly wasn't, and I wasn't even capable of that. But in those years, I learned how to manage a household because there were dishes to be done and meals to be prepared, laundry to do, my brothers and sister to kind of keep track of and look out for, and I certainly was responsible to do that. uh, Grocery shopping to do, a ton of time management, needless to say. Of course, I was a student. And yes, I did get straight A's. I was a very conscientious student and I loved to learn, so I worked really hard at that. As a teenager, I was in school choir, I was in school band, I was in the church choir. I did a lot of extra things at church, even managing a bus route where we went out and picked up kids on Sunday morning. I did a ton of stuff, and frankly, through quite a bit of that, I had a part time job as well. I learned to be pretty orderly in what had to happen because if I weren't, nothing would have happened, and I certainly wouldn't have gotten my homework done or research papers or, uh, you know, gotten my French horn practice in. There was just a lot for me to handle, and I learned how to handle it. When I got married and I had a baby, and then a year later I had two babies, and people used to say to me, "Oh, it must be so difficult for you at 19." And I said, "This is the easiest thing I've ever done. Two kids in a house? Ha! Wow." It really was. It was a piece of cake for me. But that doesn't mean that's your experience. I talked to someone yesterday, and she said to me, in my entire lifetime until the day I got married, my mom did my laundry. I mean, I just opened my drawer and there was all my stuff. I opened my closet, there was all my stuff. My mom prepared all the meals. I didn't even hardly have to make myself a sandwich. My mom, of course, did all the shopping. My mom mostly bought my clothes, except when I'd yell at her because she bought the wrong thing. She just had an entirely different life experience than I had. And so I want to acknowledge you, we don't all have the same life circumstances or the same situations. And some of us don't learn under pressure all of the necessities of orderliness or of organization to reduce the chaos. But you know what? It doesn't matter because when my sons were little and I had a household, sometimes life was crazy. It just went insane. And she described to me how her life when she got married and had a couple kids was kind of crazy. Sometimes life is crazy. Okay, we all got that down. We understand that, right? And yet, it is up to us to do our best to stay sane. I'm going to tell you why. You stay sane for yourself. You can make your own self crazy by obsessing and contemplating and going over and over and over it. Like I said, this is why I don't watch the news. I know there are a lot of bad things. I know people do bad stuff. I know horrific things happen. I just don't need to shove that stuff down my throat and into my brain for hours a day. That's not healthy for me. I need to keep myself sane. So it's for yourself. It is definitely for your family. If you're nuts, if mom or dad, one of the parents is start craving nuts, yeah, it's going to be pretty nuts in the house. It's awfully difficult to have a calm and organized, peaceful home when one of the parents is crazy. It's just usually never going to happen. It's not really feasible. So you're definitely going to do it for your family. And honestly, you do it for your greater community, the people that you come in contact with. If you've ever been in a room and in walks this person, they're just, oh, this happened, and oh my word, and I can't believe it, and huh. Yeah, they kind of get everybody in the room cranked up or wound up, for your greater community. It's a good thing to keep your sanity. So I wanted to acknowledge to you first this week, life is crazy, because it surely is. When it snows in the middle of December and it's 72 degrees the first week of January, just in and of itself, the weather's kind of crazy. When people just slam on their brakes right in the middle of the road and there's nothing there. There wasn't even a squirrel running across the road. You're suddenly from 45 miles an hour coming to a dead stop. Uh, yeah, life can be crazy. I acknowledge that to you. When you're going somewhere and you've gone there time after time and you can easily get there in 12 minutes, and then suddenly, for reasons unbeknownst to you, they turn on the red lights so that a fire truck can go, but no fire truck ever does go. You just sit there for 4 minutes at a red light, and the traffic is backing up and backing up and backing up and backing up, and then the light turns green again. And so you get to go and you're late for where you were headed. Yeah, life really is crazy. There are tons of crazy moments. I'm going to describe to you one of the craziest things I ever heard in a doctor's office because I think it just hits it to a T. There's this lady on her cell phone talking to her insurance company, and she said, I got hit by a deer on my way to work this morning. And they said, oh, yeah, we know all about this. Her phone was loud enough that I could hear the other end of the conversation, too. And she said, what do you mean you know all about it? And they said, oh, yeah, you were in your 1994 Ford pickup. And she said, no, 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 that was my husband. And they said, well, what do you mean? We thought your husband was driving. She said, listen, this morning my husband was on his way somewhere and he was in his pickup and he got hit by a deer. But an hour and a half later, I was in my Chrysler and I got hit by a deer. They're like, wait a minute, what now? And she said, yeah, he was on highway, and she named the highway, but I was on this road. And the person on the other end, they're like, wait a minute, this is not even possible. She said, oh, yeah, it's possible. We have two totaled vehicles, hit by deer on the same day within an hour and a half of each other. But yes, I'm telling you. And the person on the other end, they finally just started laughing. They said, wow, that is crazy. Well, it was. And sometimes life is crazy like that. You just can't even picture that both of them would have their vehicles totally destroyed within an hour and a half of one another. So now their whole family doesn't have a vehicle till something happens. And of course, the insurance company's probably just going, what in the world were you people doing? Well, they weren't doing anything except trying to get to work, and this happened to them. Life is crazy. It really is. I want you to know that and understand that and be prepared for that and stay as sane as you can. My challenge question for you today is, when life is crazy, what do you do? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the bigger world. In fact, it already is. And it's going to happen to you. What are you going to do? We'll be talking about the crazies all week long. So hopefully you'll gain some insight into some of the possibilities of things you can do and ways you can cope with the crazies. Thanks so much for being with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.